Uh, and just to give you a quick example, if you wanted to create a HUD, let's say uh, you wanted this on the left-hand side, your power bar on the right-hand side, and you can see that looks ridiculous. But if you go back to the general tab here and you inverse height, so we'll make it 240 high, and let's say 40 across. Now we have a kind of HUD looking thing, but most people probably will not be using PitBull for that purpose. So let's bring that back up there. And then we just switch those back to center to get them back to standard right, left, fill and deplete. So that's bar configuration. It's basically the same. Under indicators, since we have the RAID target icon here, I can show you that you can change the size and then the positioning and etc. It's not very complicated. The other thing that I'll talk about before I talk about auras are texts, and changing texts in PitBull4 can be a little bit tedious. If you want to use if you want to use the same layout for, let's say, your target frame and your target of target frame because you like let's say, the colors that you've selected for custom bar color, etc., they have to have the same texts because you cannot change text based on the units. You have to change that in the layout. So if you want your text reversed between, let's say you have your player frame immediately next to your target frame and you want the sides of, for example, the name text to be reversed, you will need to create different layouts there. On the text management frame, I'm just going to make this a little bigger to see more of the options. You can see here that the current text selected is the health text, which you actually can't see on this unit frame. We'll go through and we'll change that by picking absolute down here. So now you can see the health text. But up here you have the ability to pick a text that you want to edit and then to create a new text. And then these two options apply to all of the texts in the layout, or at least default settings when you create a new text. So let's change this to visitor, and then we can change the default size. And so as you can see, that changed not just the health text, but all of them. Now, if you want your health text to have a different font, you come down here to the Edit Text submenu, and you can change, for your health text, you can change the font or the size. You can change its location, what it's attached to, and I don't know what type. Perhaps there could be modules that have different types of definitions for something like this, but those haven't been implemented yet. And then again, you can edit dog tags, which you have been able to do in PitBull for quite some time. The last thing that I'll talk about here are auras. Basically, you can do a lot of nice things with auras now. This main display menu shows what you can display, either buffs, weapons, enchants, debuffs. You can pick all three, you can pick one, you can pick two of any of those, or none of them if you don't want auras to be enabled at all, though for that I would suggest disabling the module. But you can also change the maximum number displayed, and then you can edit the borders here. So you can set when borders are shown if you want to differentiate, for example, between your buffs and somebody else's buffs that they've cast on you. Again, you can also change the same things with the time spiral so that it only tracks your buffs. And then you can add time remaining text, and then you can zoom in on the icon. Those are all largely self-explanatory, and you just need to play around with those to determine what you like. Buff layout. This determines how the buffs fill, like the buff or debuff frame. You can change the icon sizes, like all of them, or you can change from your auras only. And then size to fit is the new version of snap, so they don't grow and deplete to fit the size of the frame that you've chosen. This is where they start and how they grow. This is their horizontal, vertical offset. Sort, self-explanatory from the tooltip. And then you can change the width. This is the width of the overall aura frame. So where the auras will fill, you can have that be a percentage of the side that they're on, or you can have that be a static value. And then this is row and column spacing, again, self-explanatory. You can use the same thing for our debuff layouts. Filters, you can create a couple of filters. You can just have it show default debuffs, or default debuffs that are yours. Yeah, so that's basic layout, editing of the layout. And there isn't really much to it that's different from PitBull4. It's just that editing it and creating unit frames is a little different. Now, one of the biggest differences is creating or changing each individual unit. Let's say that you want your target frame also to use your tutorial layout, but you want it to look or be smaller or larger. There are two different ways you can do that. The first is scale, which will make everything smaller or everything larger. Or you can just change the height and width. If, for example, you're using a pixel font, you don't want that to become distorted. You just change the width modifier and you can make it bigger or smaller. Also, using vertical position, you can fix some of the background fill errors that make it so that like one side of the background is bigger than the other side of the background. If you're making a HUD, though, you can also make these unit frames click through. And what that means is that I can no longer interact with this. I can't click on it. I can't do anything to it. I can't right-click on it either. And so that's useful if you're creating a HUD where you want to be able to click on things behind your unit frames. And I'm not going to get into group spacing. Those things are all basically the same as your unit changes. You apply a layout, and then you can change vertical position and spacing, and all that stuff is pretty self-explanatory once you've figured out the unit layouts. So that's pretty much PitBull4, and I hope that everybody enjoyed the video, and thank you for watching.